by my clothes. Some days I roll up in the hood and the trackie, turning up your nose, cause you think I look tacky. I go to a
Hello, welcome to Two Martins Podcast. This another week. Today we're going to talk about Pidgin English. And for some time now, there has been a national discussion on Pidgin English. And it came about when Ochame Kwame suggested that we should make Akan our second official language. And so many people said no, because we have so many dialects in Ghana. So choosing Akan over the others wouldn't sit well with some people. So some suggested that why not Pidgin English? And I said, okay, cool. So I've spoken a lot of Pidgin English in my life, and I've not delved deep into the whole subject. And I feel like talking about Pidgin English with some of my awesome friends. So today I have Aisha Nelson, an award-winning writer, and I have Ransford. Ransford has been here for like 3 times, right? 3 times, eh?
3 times.
Welcome, Aisha.
Thank you.
Welcome. It's a pleasure meeting Aisha. Aisha, the way she writes, Ransford, what's up?
Cool.
So welcome. So today talking about Pidgin English. Pidgin English. Ransford, how was it feeling when I called you about this subject?
I was like, hey, Pidgin English. It hasn't been long since I started speaking Pidgin. Yeah, I think I started when I was in level 200.
Okay.
Yeah, so the whole of level 100 I wasn't speaking Pidgin. By level 200 I started speaking. So
Pidgin. Okay,
yes.
cool.
So I was like, within just short time, I'm coming on
podcast
on a podcast to talk about Pidgin English.
Yeah.
So I think I was like, okay, then let me do some few research about it, and then I'll add my personal knowledge also into it.
Cool. Aisha, what about you?
I've never really spoken Pidgin in my life, but
Wow.
I know people who speak a lot of Pidgin. And I like to believe that I understand all of it.
Cool.
Yeah, and many of those I know who speak Pidgin English are people who could have also speak English very well.
Yeah.
And many of these are also very fluent or eloquent in their mother tongue.
Yeah.
So maybe when we talk about the uses of Pidgin, we'll see why these people speak in Pidgin.
Sure.
When they are with particular groups of people,
Sure.
rather than as an official language or something.
True.
Yeah.
So Ransford, first question. What is Pidgin? Pidgin. What comes to mind when you hear the word Pidgin?
See, Pidgin, normally, Charlie, they go, they come. Charlie, they go, they come. Is it that thing?
What's up?
Sure. So, it's like, from a layman's point of view, you might think that, it's a guy's language. Okay, the guy's language. So, like, maybe some small group of people, they want to show off, then they start speaking
rebellious language.
Yeah.
Okay.
But actually, if you dive deep into it, you'll think you come to realize that it is a form of communication that developed because the parties do not have a common language. Yes, the parties do not have a common language, so they try to borrow vocabulary from their parents' language. Then they try and mix it so that at least someone will understand something.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So because of that, we came about this whole idea of Pidgin English.
Pidgin, the word Pidgin.
Yes.
I shout about it.
I don't know whether we should say Pidgin English or Pidgin.
Pidgin.
I think we should say Pidgin.
Pidgin, yeah.
Pidgin.
What I know about Pidgin is that it's a language which came to be used as some kind of a mediation between the time when people in especially West Africa came into contact with the English language in particular. So like Ransford said, because of the need for communication, they had to strike a language that both parties, that is those who brought the English language and then the locals would understand. So they came up with Pidgin. And right now, if you go to places like Nigeria, Pidgin is actually recognized as an official language.
Okay.
So it's not just like in Ghana and some other places where a particular group of people from a particular class or maybe educational level speak it because they don't want to sound too formal when they are with each other. So they wouldn't want to speak English. English sounds too formal and official, and they probably want to just relax and be friends. points rather than be talking in something like a business board meeting or something. So that's what Pidgin is in Ghana for now, and that's how it came about.
Yeah, but you know something too. You see, when you are speaking in Pidgin with friends, you try to talk more about so many things, unlike you talking English or speaking English. I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying.
It's like fine art and graffiti. So graffiti gives you more room to do so many things.
Yes,
fine art, you have to follow guidelines. But graffiti, you can do anything.
Yes.
Cool.
So you can just talk about
be yourself.
Yes, just be yourself.
No restriction.
No restrictions.
Cool. So let's go to the next question. A brief history of West African Pidgin English. Right, Aisha.
Like I said, Pidgin has a history, and its beginnings is when people in especially West Africa came into contact with the English language through, I don't want to call them colonial masters, people who brought the English language. But if you go to some other parts in West Africa, we have something called Creole, and then some other languages, and they are still distinct from Pidgin in the sense that if you take something like Creole, it's actually a language. It is recognized as a language, not just like how Pidgin is recognized as a whole language in Nigeria now. And Creole is the kind of language which also came into being because of the contact of two languages, but this time it's the language morphs in within a particular period of time, so that it becomes something very distinct from the parent languages, or if maybe it's French or English, and then the local languages. So Creole can be very different from the languages it was probably morphed from. But if you take Pidgin, it's very simplified. If you know the rules of grammar for English and all that, you see that Pidgin breaks all of it, and it makes it very, very, very simple. If you take things like pronouns, Pidgin will probably say something like in brother, in mother, not her mother.
Yeah, her mother. Yeah, true.
That kind of thing. So Pidgin is a very, very simplified form of both the languages which came together for it to be formed.
Thank you, Ransford.
So, I think that is what Aisha has said. Yeah, as a result of interaction between people from different areas, as those coming from the seas, they came. That's what I used to call them, the sea people. So they came, and we also had our native language. So in order to establish a common form of communication, we borrowed theirs, and then they also borrowed ours, and then we started talking in language that people, all of us, can understand. So I think it is a simplified means of linguistic communication. Yes, that is what it is about.
So now right now let's define what Pidgin English is, because we first started with the Pidgin. Now let's explain the word Pidgin English.
Pidgin English. Can you even explain Pidgin English?
I don't know if there is such a thing as Pidgin.
Is there a definition for it? Pidgin English.
Because when I did a research on it, what I found out was that the Chinese, the Pidgin means business. So when they came in contact with the English traders back then in the 18th centuries, so same English business. They wanted to say English business, and that resulted in the Pidgin English. So with them, Pidgin means business. So English business, that's Pidgin English, that's the meaning.
So from what I know, I think it's most commonly employed in situations like trade. So just for us to understand that, maybe you want this, I also want this. That is where it came to be developed.
So they were the first people to use the word Pidgin English, which meant English business. In the 18th century.
That's cool.
So let's delve more into this whole thing. Demographically, which part of Ghana is a concentration of Pidgin English at its peak, and why? Ransford.
I'll say Accra, maybe Tema.
And why?
Accra, Tema. Because in Accra, there are people from different backgrounds over here. So many people. And then with the concentration of the nation's best universities also in here. Oh, that's nice. Hey,
Some people won't like it.
Oh, it's the truth. It's the truth. Oh, but we have Legon, almighty Legon, in here.
UCC is in Cape Coast though.
No. UCC, as for them, they are not. It's surprising when you go to Kumasi, a lot of people, they don't know how to speak PG.
Why is it that?
I don't know. Kumasi people, they like the tree.
They want to
yes,
speak
my
to
Kumasi people, I like them. They like the tree.
They like the tree.
Yes. Even in Winneba, we speak Chi over there. They have been speaking Chi over there. Not even fancy. Winneba is a pure fancy town. But the Chi is more over there than fancy. Yes. But in Accra, Legon, almighty Legon, is Pidgin.
You should get into trouble for saying
yes.
I went to University of Ghana myself. But,
yes. People have been speaking PG here in Accra more often because the very first time my uncle.
Why is it that? I want to know the reason why people speak Pidgin English.
I think because
in Accra, as you're saying.
Accra is more like a business capital. Okay, there are so many people here from different walks of life, and moreover too, it's more commonly with the youth.
Okay.
Yes, it's more common with the youth. So this youth. Mostly they speak because of the like, I don't know, is it the exuberant nature of because when you and your guys meet and then you speak Pidgin, you see it's kind of
cool.
It's cooler. Okay. Yes, it's cooler than speaking English
for my English.
Yeah, and then moreover, they use it to attract the girls.
Really?
Oh yes.
Really?
Oh yeah.
That one I don't know.
You should know. I'm telling you.
Wow.
Yes, I am telling you because I remember there was a certain time. At that time I wasn't speaking. Although I understood Pidgin English. I wasn't speaking, and I was hanging out with a certain friend of mine. A girl. So she was around, and then my friends who were around, they were all speaking Pidgin, but I was speaking the normal English. So after everything was over, when we were going, she was like, "Why don't I speak Pidgin?" You understand?
So Pidgin is cool.
So the girls also like it. The girls like it.
Some
very
like
much.
it.
I'm learning that for the first time.
Me too.
Yeah, the girls like
So
it.
Aisha, what about you? Which part of Ghana?
I think wherever there are people who speak English and speak it very well, it's very likely that these people would also speak Pidgin.
English.
Because maybe we can talk about Southern Ghana,
okay.
like Ransford said, because some of the universities are here, but there are also polytechnics and other tertiary institutions up. So wherever there are people who speak English, I think it's very likely that Pidgin would be there. When they want to use a language which is not their mother tongue, because if I go to somewhere like Tamale, I may not be able to speak Ghana there with anyone.
Yeah, true.
But the main medium of communication would be English. And if maybe we still think, like I already mentioned, English is too formal a language for us to be using when maybe we go out or we are just chatting about normal stuff, and any of us speak Pidgin, it's more likely that we will resort to Pidgin.
True.
And we wouldn't be speaking Pidgin anytime we are we will be speaking Pidgin anytime we are not in the classroom.
True. Some
kind of thing. And then the reason why I don't want to believe that it's only in Southern Ghana that people speak Pidgin.
No, is it the question is where
the concentration.
The concentration.
And why?
Well, there may be Southern Ghana, but people travel. Yeah, people travel. If maybe I'm from Tamale and I came to university in Accra, I would go back.
Yeah,
and
true.
I wouldn't want to believe I'm the only one who came to study in a university in Southern Ghana and then go up. So I think wherever there are people who are likely to speak English, we would see Pidgin there. Only that it may not be a lot, but and I think it's one of the features of Pidgin. It's a particular sect of people.
Who speak it.
People who are educated, people who speak English, and even for people who don't speak English very well, they have a certain strand of Pidgin they speak. So at the end of the day, it's still Pidgin, and we can tell it what it is.
That's a good point. For my research and after thinking through this particular question, I thought because Accra, we have so many people coming from different places to Accra.
And it's the capital.
Too. So we come here, and the other regions, comparing to the other regions, culture there is very, how do I put it? They put so much focus on culture. But with Accra, we have so many people from different backgrounds coming here.
Cosmopolitan.
And, cosmopolitan. And Pidgin is a way of bridging that gap. If I speak Hausa and you speak Chi, and we can't flow, Pidgin is the best language to take.
Yeah.
But with other regions, when you go there, you are forced to speak that dialect. If you go to Kumasi and you can't speak Chi, with time you'll be able to speak Chi because they'll force you to speak it. But in Accra, they wouldn't force you to speak anybody's dialect. So Pidgin English is the best way to communicate. That's what I thought with this question.
So maybe Southern Ghana.
Yes, Southern Ghana. Yeah,
Okay,
Southern
so
Ghana.
so instead of saying Accra, we say
Southern Ghana. Okay, so back to Asha again. How impactful has Pidgin English been on our urban culture?
I think when we say urban culture, I want to understand it as this kind of cosmopolitan thing.
Yeah.
So maybe not culture as in the people of Accra or the people of the Central region, because we are talking Southern Ghana. But the whole cultures from different kind of ethnic groups which has merged.
Yeah.
I think for those who speak Pidgin, there would be a particular kind of culture. And even though these people may live in places where others may not speak English, the culture will still be quite different for them. And what this also means is that the whole thing is very fluid. We can't say there's a very particular way people who speak Pidgin behave and act, the way they dress, the kind of food they eat. It may be very, very similar to people who don't speak Pidgin yet are also in Southern Ghana or any part of Ghana for that matter. So I think maybe the particular kind of culture we should be looking at is things which have to do with communication. If I'm going to buy a watch and the watch seller can't speak Pidgin, but he or she can speak Gan or Chi, even if it's in Accra, maybe the language to buy watch in Gan or Chi, that one I would know. Or even if I don't know, it's very simple. I mean, communication can easily happen. That kind of thing. So maybe I wouldn't want to believe there is a particular culture for people who speak Pidgin and then for those who don't, even if they are in the same demographic area. It is still very, very fluid. And you wouldn't know this culture until a particular group, maybe people who speak Pidgin are together. Maybe a literary festival or that kind of thing. Until then, you would think that we are all the same.
You're the same, true. Ransford.
I support what Aisha is saying, but I think I'll go from a different. I also contribute from a different perspective.
Okay.
I think it has brought about a whole new, different culture. Yes. When you talk about culture, it's not only about the dressing, the way of life, or something like that. It's also about anything else that has come to stay. Yes, anything else that has come to stay. I remember during when I was in school, we went for a debate and then we were talking about bribery or corruption becoming a culture. So anything that comes to stay becomes a culture among the people, and it has been so impactful upon on the urban culture in such a way that right now the youth have adopted it as their language. Yes, as their mode of communication. Right now on WhatsApp, it's a surprise you the exchanges on WhatsApp are mostly in Pidgin. I remember when I wasn't speaking, I was writing, I was chatting in Pidgin, but I wasn't speaking, alright. So it has brought up a whole new generation, and then it has resulted in Pidgin being accepted in so many parts of the country. I think it has even gone international. Right now we even have a Pidgin Bible. Yes. So it has established a whole new different trends of culture that I think boys and then the young guys are following. I don't know whether it's going to get to that standard of becoming a national language. I don't know, and I don't want it to be. But I think at this level it's okay. And then moreover to it has also promoted trade in our informal sector. Now informal sector. Right now, if I'm going to buy something from someone and I go like, oh Charlie, I buy something. Okay, yes. You see, the person will understand buy. Yes, the person will understand buy, will understand I. Okay. So it really promotes that trade. And then here being an urban center, there are so many exchanges going on. So many exchanges. Right now, if you go to Zamrama line and then you are walking, okay, people will ask you, money change. Okay, that's language or that mode of communication that the person is is telling you, you get to know that the person asking you, are you coming to change money?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you understand.
Yeah.
So Pidgin English, with that small vocabularies that we've borrowed from our parents' languages and our mother tongue, just to make sure that people understand that it has created a whole new culture amongst us that I think it's going to. Is it going to end well? Fine. It's going to take us a long way.
You get to the shortcoming. With me, I think that when you talk about the urban culture, urban societies like Accra and the big cities in Ghana, I think somehow there has been this emergence of another culture with the youth, basically the youth, and the youth, because of our different backgrounds with our ethnicity and all that, we have come to develop this culture too. And which holds us with the Pidgin English. So Pidgin English is the thing binding us as one.
Yeah.
And I think that has brought more liberation. So, for example, with my boss at work, he's around like 60 years or so, and he speaks fluent Pidgin English with us. And I think psychologically, he wants to be like us. He wants us to feel like, yo, I'm part of you guys. That's why he's speaking Pidgin English every day with us. So I feel with our entertainment, people now use Pidgin English to communicate. And it's easier to communicate in Pidgin English now to the youth, and they'll listen. So most of the hit songs are written in Pidgin English. Even movies, there are movies that dialogues are in Pidgin English, and the youth enjoy it that much most. They enjoy such movies most. And now I think even with some services too, they are trying to bring in, even like Tigo had this advert that they had this Pidgin English headline and the Pidgin phrase headline. I've forgotten I think
it's MTN. We did for you.
We did for you. So
we did for you. Yes, we did for you.
They try to capitalize on the new culture emerging from the whole youthful exuberance.
So it is a culture that is coming to stay.
It's coming to stay.
It's coming.
So let's come to our next question. Highlight some shortcomings of Pidgin English in our society. Ransford.
My problem. Okay, fine. Let me start by this. When I was in SS, okay, I remember Madam. I remember that woman very well, Madam Vida. So she came to class and was like, because we don't speak English properly, or we don't speak proper English, we can't speak Pidgin. Okay, yes, and I believe that to be able to speak correct Pidgin, you are supposed to be very conversant with the English language. Yes, that will help you to speak the Pidgin fluently. So I do not see why our youth are trying to do away with the former English language and then going with the Pidgin, because it is there is something that I wrote over here. We have something that we call lexifier. Okay. Yes, the lexifier is a language that provides the basis for the majority of contact languages. Okay, so for instance, in this case, we are going to say that the English language, or the former English language, is the lexifier, from which we get most of the vocabularies that we use to speak our Pidgin. Okay, yeah, so if you do away with that and then you go in for the Pidgin instead, what will happen? Okay, so the Pidgin that is becoming more and more common is trying to destroy the English language that we are supposed to use as our formal means of communication. And then our boys in school, our girls in school are trying to catch up with those who are already speaking. Okay, thereby ignoring the formal English language. So it's becoming something that right now, if you take scripts of let's say when you're marking any script, I am a teacher. When you're marking scripts, you can see some of these Pidgin languages being used in it, and then we don't mark Pidgin. So if I see that, I'm going to penalize you. You understand? So it is having a negative effect on our youth who are still in school. If you are out of school, fine, okay, but those who are still in school, it is having a negative effect on them. It is altering their language. Yes, it is altering their language, and I think that needs to be checked very very well. So I would urge them that when they are chatting with friends at that stage, they should try and then use the normal
the formal English.
The formal English to chat.
Asha.
I think for anyone who is learning a language as a second language, like anyone who is learning English in school, for the academic purposes, they should, the more you practice that particular language and you speak it, the more you write that language, the better you become at it. The reason why some people would mix up Pidgin with the formal English language is because they are probably not good in the English language itself.
Okay.
I wouldn't say because of that people should put aside Pidgin altogether. Pidgin has its uses, and like we've all agreed on, it's come with a new culture that we all can't avoid, and it is evolving. One day, maybe if not in Ghana, like how it's become in Nigeria, it will become a very formal, recognized language on its own.
True.
So if someone is mixing up English with formal English, it's because they have problems with the English language, and they should try to fix that. I also teach the English language, and from the little I've found that one of the reasons why people don't do well in what we call their L2, or a language they are acquiring after their mother tongue or their first language, is because they are not good in their mother tongue in the first place.
Okay.
So there are actually different layers of reasons as to why people won't be good in English language.
Okay.
And then for, like I also previously mentioned, for many of the people who I know speak Pidgin, they speak English very well.
Very well, yeah,
they are not speaking the Pidgin because they are weak in the English language. They just want to use it in a particular context, usually informal and simply conversational.
True.
So if someone has to use English as a formal language, and you bring in Pidgin, it means you don't have a sense of context.
True.
That kind of thing. So what we should be advising students is that, yeah, you can speak all the Pidgin you want, but know when and where to use it.
Use it. True.
And make sure you know it so well that it doesn't seep into the formal English.
Yeah, true.
Because we really, really can't tell them to stop speaking.
So
Pidgin.
see, people speak correct Pidgin can speak English very, very well.
Formal English very well.
They can speak very, very well.
Very well.
And
they probably can speak Pidgin very well because they are very good in the English language.
Yes.
Because
that's
like
what
we
I'm
said, Pidgin is simplified English, simplified craft.
So you see that it's surprising that when you go to secondary schools like Adisco, Fantapim, St. Augustine's, people, most of the students, they speak the Pidgin very well. But yet, when they write their WASI, you can see that they record high number of A's in English.
Yeah.
Okay. Unlike people somewhere, or maybe some other schools.
Okay.
So I think that is what we are supposed to check.
Yeah, true.
Not to have a negative influence on our. I think the L2 is that.
L2.
L2.
Second language. So basically, you have to know, like people coming, the young ones, you have to know that before you break any rules, you have to be good with the first ones.
Yes.
So before you break the formal English, you have to know it inside out before you can break it into the Pidgin English. So Ransford, BBC Africa has a channel for Pidgin English. Is it about time that our national or private news agencies created avenues for Pidgin English in streaming their works?
I think it's already there.
Yeah, we have Pidgin English, BBC, and even GH1 is bringing a new show, a new news in Pidgin English.
I think in our local setting, it's there. I'm talking about in Ghana. It's already there. Most of our radio presenters, they speak in Pidgin. Yeah, sometimes you can send your text messages in English. I think it's being promoted. Just that over there is an international news agency. Okay, so when they show something, everyone else gets to know. You understand what I'm saying?
But with Ghana, I think Ghana with the radio presenters, they speak the formal English, but in between they chip in the Pidgin English. But I'm talking about we adapting, like if it's a news, the whole 30 minutes or 1 hour we are speaking in Pidgin English, or if it's about any other TV or radio shows.
Is it a channel or maybe?
It can be a channel, it can be a show. Like we are adapting it and putting it in our face. So when you switch channels, you hear people speaking Pidgin English on content.
Okay. I understand. So like BBC, there is a channel, BBC
channel for Pidgin.
So everything that is done there is
Pidgin.
Well, I don't think that should happen here in Ghana. I seriously don't think so, because over there they're already English speakers. Okay, they're already English speakers, and if you come to Ghana, we are learning the English, we can't adulterate it. Okay, we can't adulterate what we are already learning. So it's best we keep it that way whilst we try and improve on our English language. I don't think we should have channels for pidgin language, because if we do that, most of the youth are going to listen to this channel. Okay, and it will surprise you that it's going to affect their language. It's going to affect the English language that it is required for us to use everywhere that we go. For example, you're filling the forms, you're speaking even in parliament, everywhere. When you're writing a letter, anything, you use the formal English language.
But for now, currently, some are tuning into the BBC Pidgin English channel, and they're still listening to it. So we can't restrict them from listening to that channel. And they're reading the BBC News too, the Pidgin English too. So it's there. They are listening now. So if you stop Ghanaians for adapting that culture, they are still having avenues to listen
I
to.
am not saying that we should stop, but I'm saying that we shouldn't bring that here.
I think maybe, I don't know, it maybe my explanation would explain why he thinks we shouldn't have it in Ghana. I think when we talk BBC, we are talking about a news agency which is international.
Yeah.
So many of these languages they broadcast to have English as their official language. And then I think it's not only Pidgin they have a special channel for. I think they also have it for Hausa,
Hausa too.
Some other big African languages. But Ghana is just a country, and we have only one international language, which is English. So if you bring in Pidgin, the thing is that whether we bring in Pidgin channels in Ghana or not, Pidgin is developing. One thing about language is that it develops. It's the English language. If you see some of the old scripts of the English language, you wouldn't even think it's English. Okay, so whether we like it or not, languages develop, and they develop at their own space and everything. If we were to bring Pidgin in here, much of the uses for which we have our media will be cut off from a lot of people. Like we already established, many of the people who speak Pidgin in Ghana are people who are able to speak the English language in the first place. So if you have Pidgin as a channel in many of the radio stations or even TV stations in Ghana, you are going to cut other people off from vital information which they will need in terms of our politics, in terms of our education, in terms of the basic things which they will need to be the best citizens that they have to be. And Pidgin won't be a good reason for that. But I believe a time is coming when it wouldn't be a problem at all for us to have Pidgin as a whole channel in Ghana. But right now, that time is not quite yet. I think.
I love the explanation very much. Ransford wants to. So Ransford, is Pidgin language the best substitute for English language in our school? Since Ghana has challenges adapting a dialect as a national language?
No, we don't. Do you have challenges adopting a dialect as a national language? I don't think
we
so.
Do.
We do.
We've always had, even African.
We do. But recently, Ghana wants to adopt French as a second language, and people have issues with that. Why don't we adapt one of our dialects?
You can't. You see, people think that maybe you should use Akan, but even the Akans came to meet people over here. You understand? But what is spoken out there? Okay, I think English is our official language, and then we should go like that. We should use the English language as our official language, as a national dialect.
People have had issues with retraining our children in the English language because they feel if you train them in our local dialect, they perform much better than the English dialect.
How would you say engine in Chi?
Definitely there will be a word for engine in Chi, but I don't know.
So I don't blame them. You see, what I've been thinking about is that we have a language bureau, okay, and they are the ones who are supposed to take up this challenge of making sure that everything in English is has
its equivalent.
Yes, in our local language, but they are not doing that. Okay, so it's like even if you start speaking the local dialect, you end up borrowing so many of the English terms into it. You understand? And then since they've not lived up to that, we can't use any of our local dialect as a national dialect. So we should use the English throughout. I think the English is the best. And moreover, when you go to this international studies, you can't use the local. Yes, the local. It's not an international language. Yes. If you really wanted our language to be international, we could have made that. Right now, the Chinese have been able to make their language an international language.
Yeah.
Yes, and then I think we've not lived up to that. Right now, when you go to some school, they are studying Mandarin. Yes, but what is happening to the Akan language? Okay, maybe not now. Sometime later, I think we will get there. But right now, I think the English is the best.
It's cool. Aisha?
I think one thing we should know about the English language is that we have one English language. Sometimes the people in America are teased by the people in Britain that theirs is American English, is the watered English and not the actual real English. But from the little I know about the English language, we do have something called standard English. The English you can speak across any part of the world and people would understand. And then we also have dialects of the English language, which people should recognize. There is something called Ghanaian English. Ghanaian English is very different from Nigerian English. It's very different from Britain English. It's very different from American English. But it can still be very, very standard English. So what I'm trying to say is that, but maybe I should mention this. You know, when Chinua Achebe wrote Things Fall Apart, he had a lot of struggle getting a publisher because, amongst other things, you know, the politics of the novel and everything. Yeah. People were saying the English is written in Things Fall Apart. It's English all right, but it's not English.
It's plain.
Not plain. Actually, the English in Things Fall Apart is very sophisticated. So there is this joke about a little girl from one of these European countries who wrote a letter back to Achebe and was like, Mr. Achebe, what have you done to the Queen's language? That kind of thing. So what I'm trying to say is that, and then there is also this play, I've forgotten the title of it, but I think it's written by James Joyce or one of these old writers, in which you have some kind of a master who is supposed to be a metaphor for someone who is a colonial person, and then someone who is supposed to have been colonized, and then this person has his or her own language, but the colonial person came and took away his mother tongue, if we should say, and by the time the person was done, this colonized person has a language which is very, very different, and sort of a kind of reflection of the language of the one who colonized him, and this language is still distinct. So what I'm trying to say is that the English language, for now, right now, things are still evolving with the Pidgin. The English language can remain our national official language. And the English language as we have it now in Ghana is Ghanaian English. So if we say we are going for
these are the accents,
maybe we should talk about, no, it's not about the accents, because I know I studied English in university, and then I know a little bit about mother tongue and all that. The English I'm speaking right now, we are all speaking right now, if it were an American or a native speaker, like an American or a British speaking it, the accent will probably be different. And when I say accent, it means a lot of things when we are talking phonology and phonetics and all that kind of thing. But they will tell you something that people who are from Africa or people who speak African languages speak English in a syllable timed, as in they pace the language they speak by syllables, and that is how all our African languages are. Whether it's Ga or Ewe or thing, we don't speak with stress patterns. Yes. And that is what many people mistake or call accent. So we don't speak in stress patterns. As a Gan speaking Gan, the language is timed by the syllables, not the rise and fall of pitch in the syllables in the language. And that is Ghanaian English. And then also we have some peculiar idioms and expressions. If you read a book like a novel like Changes by Amata Edu, and then if you read novels by someone like Amada Akon, you will see what Ghanaian English is. And if you are not very perceptive about the English you are reading, you would think it is English, British English, but it is Ghanaian English. And it's not Pidgin. Yes, and it's not Pidgin.
I get you. Yeah, I
so there is the language we have now. It's Ghanaian English. The Englishman from Britain and America can't come and say that we've stolen their language or we are using their language. We have taken their language and we have made it our own.
Yeah, I get.
There is Nigerian English, and that is what happened in Things Fall Apart.
I get you.
And I'm not talking about words which have been translated, or maybe you are writing and then you italicize something like Banku or something, or maybe you don't want to italicize, so you just leave it like that. Or maybe you also instead of saying Banku, you try to find a definition for it and add it to what you have. There is something which is typically Ghanaian
about it.
I can't show you
a description of events or which is
it's the language. It's something very peculiar.
Okay, maybe
so,
as you said, maybe when I begin to, I'll go and read Faceless again, but is Amada correct?
Yeah, Amada. Yeah, and Amataidu also uses it a lot in her
I'll read them again and pay particular attention to that.
So concluding.
And then I think this guy, Nia Ikwe Parks, also has this novel called The Tale of a Bluebird. If you know Akan very, very, very well, and you read that, you see that you are reading Akan in English. And he's not writing breaking grammatical rules. That is pure Ghanaian English. I think that one he was particularly, I don't know, but I think he was particularly intentional about writing Ghanaian English. So if you know Akan very well, so maybe instead of saying something like good morning, that is, good morning is typical British native English language. Someone would greet someone saying, I give you the morning. How would you say that in Akan?
Marching.
Mimawachi.
Yeah.
And then Manifest also does that a lot. So just pay attention to some of these people.
Wow.
So if you say
so that will be Ghanaian English instead of being.
But that one we can say it's not just Ghanaian English. Maybe it's more of Akan English than Ghanaian. But if you say Mimawachi and you are reading it, it sounds more like, for someone who doesn't know Akan or doesn't know any Ghanaian language at all, this person would say, oh, this is actually a very beautiful figure of speech. I give you the morning instead of saying good morning. So to some other African or some other person, that would be a very brilliant way of using the English language. But to me, who know Akan, I know what he's trying to do. And he hasn't broken any rules. He's still perfectly English.
Sure. I now understand. What
so your close remark, Francois.
What I would say is that Pidgin is a very nice way of communicating. It's very simple. It breaks down the stress going through finding a big dictionary and looking for words to tell someone. But it has its limitations, especially to our youth out there. Okay, it has its limitations. You should know when to use it, how to use it, and then where to use it. Yes, and then where to use it. In a nutshell, we should promote the speaking of Pidgin. But we try as much as possible not to abuse it. Yes, it's going to really help us, and that is what I think.
Thank you, Aisha.
I think Pidgin is a very interesting language, and even though, like I said, I don't speak it or I don't know how to speak it much, I like it for what it's doing to this new generation. And when I say generation, it includes people who are more than 50 years who also speak Pidgin and all that. And I'm very curious about the changes it can bring to our politics, our languages, our culture, and even our academia, that it can bring. And I hope I get to see some of these beautiful changes while I'm still alive.
Amen. Yeah. True. I love this episode. I've learned something new too today. I've learned something new.
I've also learned something from Aisha.
Yeah, so Aisha,
right now you're giving me a job.
Thanks for coming, Aisha. Thanks for coming, Ransford. This was a Two Madwins podcast episode on Pidgin English. Thanks for listening.